Before we get into this podcast, I just want to ask you guys a simple question. We've been doing the draft analysis for 5 teams now, and I haven't done any in about a week. But I just want to ask you guys whether or not that you think this is a continuing series. I want you guys to leave a comment down below in the YouTube video whether or not I should continue the series. It is a lot of work, and I love doing it. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like a lot of you guys haven't been a fan of it, or that there's a lot of teams that you don't necessarily care about on the series. So I've done the Cowboys one. If you want me to do like specific teams, let me know. But whether or not I should continue the series, that's what I'm asking. So leave it in the comments on the YouTube video down below and give me your thoughts. If it's a unanimous yes, then I'm going to continue doing it. If there's a lot of no's, then we'll just move on from it. But I've been loving the series so far. I just feel like you guys haven't been a big fan of it. Just let me know in the comments down below. And I'll mention it right before the episode ends on this podcast. But yeah, that's what I want to ask. Enjoy the podcast, guys.
Woo! It's the boy, Bubba, let's coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba, let's. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the GOAT, I'll tell you who's not great. And which team always make you go right way. Yeah, hold on, tell me who's.
Welcome back to another episode of the Bubba Let's Sports Podcast. Everybody, I am your host, Bubba Let's, bringing you a brand new episode. 136, man. 136. And this one's going to be the one that I usually don't want to make, but I feel like I've been thinking about it for a couple days now and thinking to myself, like, I need to express how I feel, because it's not just about sports, it's about the world as a whole. And as you can guess from the title, this is the question of should sports come back this early on. Now, we got plenty of leagues coming back in Europe, especially football, soccer, like La Liga, Bundesliga, like they're all coming back either this week or next week. And, it's going to be nice to see that. It's more of the conversation that we're going to have today about what's going on in the United States with the NBA and whether or not we're starting to think about whether the NFL is going to have their games with fans or without it. Are they even going to play? And with the vote from the NBPA about whether or not the season should go on, and a lot of players are in favor of playing, the big question is, man, like whether it should go on at all. I don't think that fans should be considered whatsoever, no matter what sport it is. Even like in some of the wrestling promotions that I watch, they're starting to think about, more crowds, some fans. And I'm just here to say, man, like, I love sports. I would love to see sports back faster than the guy next to me. I just think that right now in the state that we are in the United States, it's just an absolutely terrible decision. I get why they're doing it. I absolutely get why. Because it's about the money. Money makes the world go around. And I'm not trying to get political. If any of you are thinking that this is going to be a political episode or you're going to hear an opinion about my political views, that is not it. I don't care. I genuinely do not care about politics. And as a journalist, maybe I should, but that's just not me. It's not Bubba Lutz. And I'm not going to be a fake, journalist or a fake person just to get a view expressed out or said on this podcast that ultimately I don't believe in. I believe in being truthful and being knowledgeable. Is just in my mind, politics, like presidential, whatever, anything like that, the news, the media, whatever, I do not care. I mean, there's so many things wrong with it that I don't even know where to start. And I'm just not knowledgeable enough to say exactly what every little thing is. But I know that I don't want to value myself on that. I value myself on sports. And the only reason we're talking about this is because it ties into politics and sports. But ultimately, like, the whole reason why they're thinking about bringing sports back is because of the money. They need a better economy. And that's as simple as I could say it. But That's ultimately what it is. Well, why else would we be doing this? And like I just don't understand when I see these reports and all these like rumors about like, you know, the UFC buying an island. That did happen, and they had their UFC event this past weekend, that one of their fighters tested positive for COVID. And I'm like, why isn't this a bigger deal? Like, how did he not infect anyone? What kind of contact did he get into with other fighters or other people involved with the UFC? Or was he like immediately quarantined? Like, how did the process go? Because I know they had specific tests for those fighters and for everyone involved. That they're also, for the NBA, thinking about getting a large sum of tests. Same thing that happened with the soccer players in Europe. You know, before they came in, they all got tested and they all made sure they were okay. The problem I have with all of this, whether it is true or not for like the NBA, because it was true for soccer in Europe, is the fact that in the United States, where it was said on national TV and it was promised that at your local grocery stores, at your local like Walmarts, Targets, Walgreens, whatever, that you can get tested. It will start this day, and these are the procedures you need to take. But if you feel like that you need to take that test, you can find that easily in your city, your town, whatever. You know, in these areas, it'll tell you where to find them. I live in a, you could say, a smaller city that is connected to Fort Worth. And I have only seen maybe one sign, and that was for no Walgreens. I've been to all 3 Walgreens since this happened. Been to some, or Walmarts, I should say, Walgreens as well. And I don't know about Target, but I've just never seen anything advertised for Target. I've seen one sign from like a local physician in their like very nice complex, and it wasn't even a big complex, that they can get tested for COVID. So how come these multi-million-dollar brands, these organizations, these teams, and their players can get tested like this? Because if they get that test, then we can wrap this up a lot faster for sports to get on. Because ultimately, the whole thing is to get back on the field, on the court, and to make money for the NBA, for whatever soccer league you're into, and then that ultimately helps the country that it's involved in. And the United States, with all the unemployment and all that, like, they need money right now. Yet, how come they have the access to that much easier than everybody else's? How come $1 million athletes have access to these tests without a hesitation? And yet we have thousands upon thousands of families that are impacted by this and don't know whether or not they have it. So they are an endangerment to their family, to young ones, to old ones. The contagious factor of this virus is it's horrible, yet it's even worse that some people are so ignorant at the fact that they could have it and they just don't know it, yet they can go outside and go to grocery stores, they can go to barbershops, they can do anything. And right now, with all the restrictions kind of going away, this spread is not over. And especially in the United States, I'm going to focus on the United States because this is where it's batshit crazy. I think the European scene right now for COVID is in the right direction. They took the right precautions. Everyone said lockdown. Like, you are in immediate lockdown. You only go out for emergencies. There is no other way about it. You are going to stay inside unless you're going to the grocery store or whatever. You know, whatever those like essentials were. And that makes all the sense in the world. And Europeans were like, yeah, I mean, we want to stop this, right? It makes sense, right? And probably to the people that are listening to this right now, you probably have conscious. And you probably know how to use your brain. You probably have an IQ higher than a potato. But then there's also the people that are protesting in front of a gym just a few days ago, asking them to reopen it while they're working out And that's how they protested. Ultimately, they're saying, yes, you can work out. And they're working out in front of a gym. So you can do it without a gym. So why need the gym? And then you have protesters at like beaches saying, open the beach. When there's thousands of people, at least hundreds of people, probably more than 1,000, grouping up and not following any procedure that the CDC or the WOH like said to do. In a time to where the virus is the most contagious thing, it's not gone away. It hasn't stopped. Look at the stat. Look at the facts. I looked up one stat and I said, that's the problem. When you look at the United States death rate of COVID, ever since it started, ever since like January, it's been over 80,000 deaths. And I get it, it's a horrible disease. And it's going to be hard to stop. Look at the second country on that list. I believe it's like Spain. It's a European country. Their death rate was 31,000. I would assume there's something in between. There's got to be a gap. Like China, the first ones to have the virus, yet are somehow like at the bottom of the list. And they're doing swell. I mean, if you look at some videos, you see all the news, like they haven't reported a case in weeks. And the procedures they're taking is very, very important. And they're doing a fine, good job of it. In Europe, they are taking precautions still. And even though they have kind of reduced the restrictions, they are still taking precautions. We got fucking people protesting at a beach so they can get on the beach. I don't know about you, but it ain't that important. Why are you protesting procedure that everyone else in the world was easily doing and agreeing to, and yet you somehow still have a problem with it? And that's where I'm going with it. It's like you can't guess, you can't control the spread of it yourself. You can try your best. You know, like I'm trying my best to stay inside. I ain't trying to go like anywhere right now. I want a haircut, and by all means, you're probably looking at me and saying you need a haircut, but I ain't taking that fucking risk right now. There's barbershops open right now. I ain't doing it. I don't trust people. I don't trust dumbasses. I don't trust people that protest in front of a gym. Like, bro, we'll do some push-ups at home. Do it. It doesn't matter. I get it. It's hard, but there's millions of people, billions of people that had to do the same thing, that went through the same process, and you have a problem with it? That's really selfish. That's idiotic. And so I'm not going to trust somebody else to take care of me, especially in the United States. The whole process of this quarantine has been absolutely atrocious in this country. And yet, your focus is on basketball. Your focus is on football. How can you give thousands of tests to athletes that, and some of them have been infected. They have been infected by the virus. And I'm glad that like guys like Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, and some other ones around the league, they've been infected and that they're doing well. It sucks that we've lost a lot of great people in the process, like Karl Anthony Towns' mom, because of this. And so, yes, it is a good thing to test them before they come into the league, before they come back and open up practice facilities. My problem is that when you have thousands upon thousands of people being infected every day and you have the highest death rate in the world, how come your focus is on giving those tests to athletes? How come your focus isn't on the people that are massively being infected and will most likely die? And you'll only get that number above 100,000. And at this rate, it's going to go way past that because of how idiotic people are in this country. Oh, freedom of speech, freedom. It doesn't matter. It's common sense. Do you want to die? No? Well, then stay inside. because the other person, your neighbor, doesn't want to die either. But if you go outside and you go to the grocery store and don't take the right precautions of a mask, of gloves, or you go somewhere like a restaurant and the person that was sitting there before you never washed their hands, oh, well, guess what? You never know, but you're going to have it. And then when you meet your neighbor and you have a chat with them on the sidewalk, well, you're not going to do 6 feet away because you're a dumbass. And you're like, bro, Corona's not even real. And then you infect them, then they infect their family. And then they infect their other family. And it goes on and on and on. So how come you're not trying to stop that? And you go on TV every day saying, oh, we're doing some great things to stop this. I haven't seen it. It's been 2 months since they've really said hey, we're going to get this done. And we're going to get this out of the way so we can go back to normal. I think it's worse than ever. I honestly think that it's going to get even worse. Because your main priority right now is not the safety of your people, not the safety of Americans. It's the safety of athletes that are going to get you money and get those politicians paid. So that way everything can go back to normal. And then eventually we'll get to the virus. And it's got to stop sometime. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm getting out of this. Look, I would love to see basketball come back. I would love to see the Lakers go on and win the championship for Kobe and LeBron getting another ring. I'd love to see it. I would love to see Bucks versus the Lakers in the finals. That'd be fun to watch. I want to see Clippers versus Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. That would be awesome, right? And for the players, they want to play. They want to get back to what they're best at. And they just want to play for the love of the game. 100% I agree with that. I feel you on that. I want to do some things that I can't do inside. Yet when and it's not the player's fault. I'm not saying if Adam Silver is going to say, look, guys, we're going to play this season, so we're going to take these precautions. If you want to join in, that's fine. If you don't, I completely understand. Most players are going to be like, I want to play basketball. And if they're going to take these precautions, cool. My problem is the fact that the United States has this priority of making money over the safety of their people. Our whole focus is getting sports back just for the money of it. Not, we got to go into lockdown. We have to be more aggressive in what we do here in order for less people to die. 80,000 people, over 80,000 people have died. Next closest one is 31,000 in a country. That should prove to you that you're doing something wrong, that you're not doing something right. Twice as many people have died in one country, in your country, because you are so oblivious to what's going on here, and you think that this is not a big deal. And your main priority is getting back the NBA. I just don't get it, man. I don't understand it. And if the NBA is going to come back, well, guess what? Hockey is going to come back. Well, guess what? The MLS is going to come back. Because they're going to do the same things, and they're going to say, look, we're just going to invest the money in you guys, and we're going to get the money back. But we're going to give you all the tests. We're going to focus on you guys. Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to the 80,000 people that have died. We'll get to it. I heard I read a story from the New York Times that was there's another strand of the coronavirus that is even more contagious than the first one. I don't know about you, but I stayed home. I did not move from my bed after hearing that. Whether it's true or not, I ain't taking that risk. There's dumb people out there. There's a lot of dumb people. And I don't trust them. So why the fuck would I risk going outside and getting a haircut so I can look good inside and possibly get coronavirus? I ain't freaking out. I'm not saying, even when this whole thing went down the first time, I was like, look, we just got to do our best. We got to control it as much as possible. Use hand sanitizer, use mask, use gloves. social distance. You guys have heard all of this before, and most of you have probably followed it. I would hope so. And I did my best. And then when they say, look, it'd be better if you just stayed inside until everything really calms down. You can go to the grocery store. You can do all these things, but still follow the procedures. And I'm like, I get that. Hey, look, it's a virus. There's got to be some casualties. It's going to happen. It's just evolution. It's just humanity. It's happened before. And we just got to try our best. Try to limit as much as possible. And if everybody follows that, hey, we're back to normal in a couple months. And then you got fucking people protesting, man. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. And the people that are getting infected, the people that have lost loved ones or have lost lives themselves because of stupid people being infected from protest, and they don't know. They don't care. Spring breakers just don't even give a shit about the virus. They don't care if they're infecting babies. They're senior citizens. They don't give a shit. And then there's the innocent ones that just, get caught in the fire. Yet those people aren't priorities because they're not athletes, because they're not making the government money. Like, man, I've had to go on unemployment. I've had to take some sacrifices to do this, to follow what's right. I've tried to do a podcast about sports when there's been no sports for 2 months. And I've tried my best. And I feel like I've probably done some of my best work on the podcast during this time. So it's been beneficial to me. But it's because I followed procedure. I didn't go and go to fucking Laguna Beach, to Daytona Beach, and party for a week with people I don't know, with people that I do not care about, and are probably more stupid than me. And that's okay with me, because I don't want to die. And I have a strong immune system, so I believe that I would have, even if I was infected, I probably wouldn't have it as bad. But it's not about me. It's about my nephew, my niece, my mom and dad that don't have strong immune systems. That's who I think about when everything is going down. That's where I feel offended about everything going on. And for the president, for the government to say, oh, we don't care about you guys. We don't care about, getting a solution to this or getting a vaccine for this. We're worried about making money from the NBA. And so we're going to give them all the tests right now. There's still a main issue of getting access to these tests. How have I seen one sign of getting tested in a very populated small town that's connected to Fort Worth? How am I only seeing one sign? Does that make me feel safe? No. And it just shows how broken and how oblivious everyone is to this. So should sports go on? No. We haven't moved on. We're not even past the stage of infection. We're right in the fucking center of it, man. I don't get it. I want to see sports, man. I love sports, and I want to watch it. Yet, there's going to be a black eye to every basketball game, every soccer game that you're watching for the next couple of weeks. Because every time that they say the NBA is back, we're finally back. All of that while thousands of people are dying every day of this virus, because instead of having them get tested, of those people infected, that could have saved lives of seeing like, oh wow, I'm infected, I gotta stay home. I can't do this. I gotta be locked in my room. Instead of that, Kevin Durant's getting tested, LeBron James is getting tested, and they say they're good, and you get to play basketball now and make us money. It's so dumb, ridiculous, and downright just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting what's going on in this country. And I'm honestly ashamed. Like, I honestly am ashamed at how good some of these other countries are doing, like in Europe, in China. And they are looking at us and saying, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? I'm living here, and I'm saying, what are you doing? It's embarrassing. It really is. And it's a shame how bad the United States has handled this situation. Just to get basketball. Just to get basketball back. Just to get UFC back. I loved watching the fights, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, dude, there was still a fighter that was infected. And he had it. He has it. And we don't know, if he got into contact with anybody there. How is this happening? I don't get it, man. I really don't get it. I didn't want to make a serious episode. I want to come in here and be fun, be knowledgeable, and give you guys some really good information. Just have a good time on the podcast. Yet, I can't with this topic. I didn't want to talk about this. I really didn't. Because I know people are going to be like, oh, well, you got freedom of speech. You can't tell people what to do. Like, but you're going to watch the NBA anyways. That's not the point, man. That's not the point. So that's going to do it for episode 136 of the Bubblehead Sports Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to this on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're still on 76, on the road to 100, and leave a like on this video. And later on, so tomorrow, we're going to come back and talk about the Cowboys schedule. And also, don't forget, from the beginning of this episode, how I mentioned that if we should continue doing the draft analysis, just let me know in the comments down below, guys. It would really be beneficial because I like doing the series, but I don't know if you guys are loving it or not. So it is a lot of teams, so that's why it's just going to be a lot of episodes that a lot of people may not watch. So I just want to know, like, your opinion, and if you are down, if I get a strong yes, then yes, I'm going to continue them for the rest of the week and for weeks to come. And so please do so. And once again, this has been Bubblehead Sports Podcast, and this has been your boy, Bubbleheads.
Yeah, hold on. Tell me who's your top 5 quarterbacks right now, dead or alive, huh? And how much do you care about a ring if the best player got carried by the team? Now would you lose if it been a better draft pick? And do you cuss when your team get their ass?